Welcome to the Startup Grind.
How are you, Karen?
I'm good. Very nervous.
Don't worry, you're amongst family. Thank you for coming to this month's Startup Grind. I think to start with, we'd like to just get to know more who Karen Nakawala is. You can start from the beginning.
As in 42 years ago? Yeah, I was born 42, I'll be 42 in August.
Wow.
This year. I was born in Kabwe and raised up by a single mother. So I come from a typical African setup. So growing up, I think I was the first child from a mother. And I came to know my dad when I was almost out of secondary school. So met him and tried to bond and things like that. We're still working at it, but 2 years later. I finished school in 1989. I was at Jacksonville Secondary School. And whilst in school, I think I knew that I always be in the arts industry. And I remember telling my mom, I don't want to go to university because I want to sing, I want to act and things like that. But I think as you grow older, you sort of grow out of certain things. So fast forward, I finished school in 1989. I decided to get married foolishly. Before I could go to college. I think up to now, I still can't work out what happened, whether it was peer pressure, because I think I was from a very protected environment, being raised by a single parent. She was a school teacher, struggling to get by and trying to send us all to school. So I don't know whether it was, I felt responsible towards my family, and I thought of maybe helping my mom out. And so I went straight into work, and like I said, got married and had my first child in 1996. She's 19 now. And she's in second year university. When I had my daughter in 1996, I lost my hearing a few months after she was born. And my husband then moved to South Africa to go and work there. So I joined him about a year later. And after numerous operations and depression and everything else, they managed to restore it. And I had to start wearing hearing aids. That was 1999. But I ditched them in 2008, I think. Because I think it was weird, really. I got used to them, but after another major operation, which took place here in Zambia, the doc managed to resuscitate the hearing in the left. So that's my good ear right now. So if you meet me in the streets, and I don't respond to your greeting, it's not because name can. It's because I can't hear, so you have to really approach me and just, grab my attention. So, then I stayed in South Africa until 2004, when I decided to come back to Zambia. I left my husband and everything else there. So I came home. Now, in all this time, I was working. I was working without any tertiary education. So I decided to take myself to school in 2005, the first time. So I did public relations, marketing and advertising. And when we graduated, I was the only student with a distinction at the University of Zambia in PR. That was 2006. I did the second stage, and then I went to ICM, Institute of Commercial Management, and I pursued the same courses, diploma level. And all this time I was working, very good job. 2009, I was retrenched, although I believe I was fired. But the funny thing is, when that happened, in my retrenchment letter, my boss had actually put forms for me to start a business from Pakra, because I think he saw that in me, because I just couldn't wear straight jackets. I couldn't be kept in one place. I couldn't ink in a closed box. So he knew I had to be released. So at first I hated him for it. But I think a year later I realized that's the best thing he ever done for me. So after that I got a job with the different Zambia Airlines as a PR and marketing manager. I went to them for about 10 months and I decided I couldn't work anymore. And that is how I left and started my little company. And today here we are.
Amazing. That's amazing. So prior to starting your company, or your boss starting up your company, you were working for Safao and Zambia Airlines?
I worked, when I came to Zambia, the first company I worked for was Arcades.
Okay.
I was running the bowling center there, and then a year later they asked me if I could manage the whole center.
What gave you that confidence that your business will work? A lot of people do want to transition, and other people that we meet every so often will say, I want to do this, I want to get into business, but you know, the security of having a salary at the end of the month is what keeps me here. So what gave you that confidence to just take that leap of faith and start the company?
I think, in all honesty, I started that company, though not registered, when I just came to Zambia, because I found myself doing bits and bits of, odd jobs at the weekend. I'll be master of ceremonies here, I'll be doing TV presentation, I'll be on radio, I'll be doing all sorts of things. So I think that's carried on, up until the time it was getting stronger, and when I was, I think in my last year at CFAO, I think I was just, what's confrontation with it? I was always questioning, what my bosses were saying, and I always wanted to have my way because I was thinking I could do this way, and they wanted to do it that way. And obviously, moving with times, I think my mind was at another level, and I was dealing with old people, if you know what I mean. So I was always doing that, and so when I moved to the Zambia Airlines, I think that's when it really hit me to say, you know what, because I think I really found it worse there, because from working for a very big corporate company to a company that was micromanaged by the board, by the owners, I was so stifled to a point where I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave this thing and I'm going to start my company. And when I started, I don't encourage people to do what I did, because I left work. I remember it was November, I took leave, and I told my boss, you know what, I want to leave. And they said, you can't, you're an asset. But I said, okay, give me a month. Let me just take a break, and then let me see how I feel after that. Then I'll come back. I went back into the office and just packed my bags, and that was it. The confidence didn't set in immediately. I think I was scared, just like any normal person should be. When you get out of the comfort zone and you take a leap of faith, you don't even know if there's a safety net to catch you. But I think I was lucky because I made the decision at the right time. After I left work, no savings, nothing, no money. The last salary I got in December from Zambia Airlines, I went to Mulungushi and sat in the general manager's office and told him, you give me an office. And he was like, but what do you want to do? I said, just give me an office, you will come to me. As I sit there, and he did that. And so all that money I paid for rental, I think for 3 months, that's all that I could afford. And the very next day I was up, 8 o'clock I was in that office, no chair, no table, no nothing, with my laptop, and I sat on the carpet. 2 days later I was having lunch with her kids, and I met a lady who was launching a book, Shupe. And she asked me, she says, Karen, I know you do events, do you know something that can help me do this? So I'm like, yeah, I can do it. And we started working on it. A week later, I got a similar request. So I think from then on, the fear sort of started, fading away, and the confidence started setting in somehow. And I think I was just lucky. I think I just had a stroke of luck, because I know some people that have gone into business and it's taken them years to take off. But it took me literally weeks to take off, and I was on my way. So I think after that, I sort of became confident and I started taking on the big jobs. I even managed to employ some people, and yeah.
So that's really nice.
Copy that.
So what does your company do, and what are some of the biggest events that you have managed as Afro Multi Media?
Basically, it's media and events management. And I think the first thing that I did, the first big thing that I did was take on the Zambian fashion industry. Although for the first 3 years, I actually had to use my own resources.
Okay. Being Women's Founders Month, the question I would ask you is, when we look at the Zambian market, we have more men entrepreneurs than we do women. What are some of the challenges do you think you as a woman face as opposed to a man? Well, there are no challenges, it's just a mindset issue.
That's a very difficult question. I would say, to start with, I think with what I do, it's not about gender. This is an industry that is driven by emotions and creativity. So a woman can have that, a man can have that. So I think it depends on the industry that you decide to take on. But obviously, the challenge I faced, I remember one time I wanted a loan, and I went to a bank. So everything was happening, filled in the forms, gave them whatever they wanted. And then this guy looks at me and says, "Can we have the consent from your husband?" So I'm like, you know what, I may be lonely, but yeah. I certainly do not need a man to define me or to take me places or to make me succeed. Why should I bring a letter from my husband? He says, no, your husband has to agree. So I do not have one. So should I find one in the streets waiting to give me a loan? And I didn't get the loan because I think I let it go. I went to another place. The same thing happened, but this time I fought my way through, and I managed to get the loan. But having gone through that, I realized that I think a lot of women have been hampered by that challenge, where they cannot get access to finance because they don't have a husband to sign for them, or they don't have collateral. If you're starting out a small business, the banks are asking for so much, an arm and a leg, something that you do not have. So how do they expect you and me to grow as a small business if they're going to ask me for so much, something that I'm not even making? So, and then as women, again, I think the downside of it is that sometimes we tend to think society owes us. And I say society doesn't owe you. Get up, go and do what you're supposed to do. Don't wait for government to create something for you to do. Go out and tell government what you wanted to do for you. Don't wait for them to create opportunities. Create the opportunity for yourself. The time of sitting and crying, saying, I'm a woman, I have to do the kitchen, I think that is long gone, really. So I think we have to just get up and go and do what you have to do.
Absolutely. My next question then would be, I've heard so many people say, I want to start up a business, but to access finance is a challenge. And to hear your story where you almost started with nothing, what encouragement then would you give someone who wants to start, but they always think, oh no, I can't access any finance? You have to start somewhere. And I think for me, what has really worked is my passion. I think my passion has driven me to a point where if I walk into a company now to say, I want you to help me with this project, they will look at the track record and they'll be comfortable to help. It's very difficult to just, go into an office or even to government with the funding that is there if you don't have anything. So I think one has a very good business proposal, which I never had. Use a business plan that is really solid and just keep pushing. If you want to do something that hard, you just keep pushing until one day somebody's going to give you the break that you need. So what motivates you every day?
I don't know. I think just the fact that I wake up to see another day, I get motivated. And then I have two girls that, my first one is in university. I'm a single parent, by the way. And my second daughter is only 5. And when I look at them, especially the small one, she still has a very long way to go. I keep telling myself, I have to, make it work for her. I have to make sure she gets the level where her sister is. So I'm always afraid of failing. So I think that just pushes me. It pushes me.
And what would you say is your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur, being your own boss?
There are good sides and bad sides to it. But I think being an entrepreneur is not a very easy thing, because I've learned to be comfortable with uncertainties, because not everything goes your way. I think half the time I find myself trying to make order out of disorder. You know what I mean? And there are times when I have a project that I'm running and it's just not working. But I tell myself, look, if I give up now, nobody's going to do it for me. So I keep pushing. And then the beauty about it is being your own boss is you dictate your working hours, but you actually find that you work harder when you're working for yourself, because if you don't perform, then you don't get paid. And I think I choose and pick what I want to work on. Not everything that is given to me I can do, and I'll tell somebody I cannot do this. But I think the freedom to operate in my own space, the freedom to create, I think that's what I love about what I'm doing now.
So based on your entrepreneurship experience, being your own boss, what are some of the successful skills that you think an entrepreneur should have to run a successful business?
Well, I learned that along the way as I started. I think the one thing that I mentioned earlier is you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. You've got to know who you are, I've known people that have come to me and said, Karen, I want to do what you're doing. How do you do it? And I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? And then once they get to know how you do it, they actually find it's not for them. So then I tell them, look, find something that is you, something that you can work at and achieve. Don't just do something because, Shupe is running that, I can also do it. I don't think it works that way. So you've got to find yourself. There are numerous challenges, numerous problems, but I think one way of overcoming them is for you to acknowledge, to solve any problem, I think you've got to acknowledge the problem that you're going through first. Then you'll be able to solve that problem. It's the same thing as having troubles in your life. Once you accept you're having this type of trouble, you'll be able to find a solution. For you to get to where you're going, once you get to where you're going, you've got to know where you are at the present moment. Then I think you'll be able to get where you're going. So, and in all these, I think for me, passion is at the core. You've got to love what you do. I think I've never taken on anything that I've never wanted to do. And if you do that, you always succeed. If you do not succeed, if you fall down whilst trying to achieve that goal, it's easy to pick up because it's something that you want to do. But if it's not something you want to do, then you will fall and stay down because it's not meant for you. But if you're passionate about doing it, you will run with it.
And what are your thoughts about the Zambian market generally when it comes to starting up a business?
It's not favorable. I think we've had so many people cry about, like we said earlier, the lack of finance. It's just not the women. I think everybody goes through that. Lack of financing, the banks want so much collateral. And of course, if you go to government to apply for a tender, they will normally give it to a company that has been in existence for so long. Because you're just starting up, they think you don't have the experience and they will not give it to you. So it isn't conducive at the moment. I think they are trying, but it's not conducive.
And you mentioned earlier that you're now you're an employer. So how is it easy to transition from being employed to now managing different people? How successful has it been for you?
I think for me it's worked because I have taken on people that are in the similar field, that share my vision and want to see the same things that I want to see happen. So it's been easy to work with them, to mentor them and to manage them. I think it becomes difficult when you try to manage a person that just wants to earn money at the end of the month, and they're not into what you're trying to do, you know. They're not part of the team. For them, it's just they come, they do what they have to do, and at the end of the day, they go. But if you work with somebody that believes in what you're doing, I think it's very easy to know them because they believe in that as well. And I think having been employed before, I know what it's like to, you know, have snotty boss or, you know, go through the issues people go through when they go to work at 8, 10 o'clock at 5. So I think I don't want anybody to go through that, because I think, and I know how frustrating that is. I've seen people leave their jobs because of a bad boss, you know, because they can't get along with the boss, which is not right. So I try always to treat the girls, I work with girls in one guy, to treat them like my own children. They're family, so we do everything together, literally. You know, if I am traveling and I'm able to take one of them, we go together. So we managed to create that bond.
So as Afro Multi Media, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? What are your aspirations?
There are plenty. There are plenty. And I think we want to be the type of company that you want to be associated with. A company that makes people's lives richer and better, because I think that's what we're about. Every time we create something, it's something like, for instance, the Zambia Women Awards. When I came up with that, I was thinking to myself, how do I want society to treat me? How do I want them to look at me? And I want them to appreciate me. So I thought, why not? Instead of just thinking inwards about it, let me start something. Because that's the way I want to see it. That's the way I want to be treated. So I start by celebrating other women. So everything that we do is about just adding to people's lives.
And what's the one piece of advice would you give to someone who wants to start up a company?
You've got to be very sure about what you want to do. I keep telling people, not everyone is made for white-collar jobs, you know. But then at the same time, like I said, do not wait for someone to create an opportunity for you. Create an opportunity for yourself, and I think that's where you'll be able to follow it through. But I'll still say it again: let your passion drive you. Let your curiosity drive you into achieving what you want to achieve. You know, have a good business plan and keep knocking on people's doors. Keep knocking, don't give up. You know, until one day somebody's going to open that door for you.
Okay. So what do you attribute your success to?
Success. I think for me it's like I said, I think it's loving what I do. Being in the limelight is not an easy thing. I think it's a very lonely life that people like me lead. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'd like to believe that anybody who's in the limelight does lead a very lonely life at the end of the day, because when I'm with my kids over the weekend, everybody wants a piece of you. They see, oh, Carrie, I can't walk in flip-flops, because the next day the post will have feet heavy. Carrie was wearing flip-flops, you know. So I try by all means to just, you know, balance the two. But when I'm at home, really, I'm at home. You call me about going out, saying, please call me tomorrow between 8 and 5, and then we can talk business. Unless it's something that I bring up. But otherwise, I try to separate the two, because I think that's where I probably get stoned for this, but that's where a lot of women are getting it wrong. You know, you're a boss at the office. You get home, you still want to boss your husband, you still want to be a boss when you get into the house, you know. And so it's a double-edged sword, really, you know. But I think at the end of the day, the makeup of it is that you're a woman, you are made to be the mother of the house, the keeper of the house. No matter how successful you are out there, no matter how big a company you run out there, when you get home, I think all you have to do is be a mother. So I think that's how I managed to do that. And of course, I try to spend as much time with the kids as I can.
Amazing. Truly an inspiring story. I think we'll open it up to the audience for questions. So please, if you have any questions, raise your hand and we'll share the mic around. Any questions?
Hi. I relate a lot to your story because I'm interested in media and the like. I wanted to find out something. Usually, the jobs you get, because you say that choose your jobs. So, but I know there's times you have to get jobs which have to keep the company afloat, which may not be your dream jobs, and you may have a demanding client. Being a startup, you usually find that you might get a lot of these jobs, and handling a lot of demanding clients at the same time can turn out to be strenuous. What kind of advice would you give to like a startup and you're trying to handle so many clients? Because I know I'll call them design jobs. The client might want to be on you so bad, asking, having so many demands. You may have like 10 of these clients, and they're like, how do you handle that?
I think, like you said, when you just started, you really want to try to get as much business as you can on your plate so that you can survive. But in so doing, you find that you take up so many such that you can't please all your clients. So then what do you do? So this is where I started off like that. I would take up so much, and in the end, I found that I couldn't do them. So what I did was, instead of saying no completely, I subcontracted, because I know there are so many of us out there that are doing the same stuff that we want to do. So I would ask a friend of mine to help out with this or put this together, and they get paid for it. But it's not fair, not just on you, but even on your clients, where you take up so much and then you fail to deliver at the end of the day. I think it gives you a very bad name. So I'd rather you take 1-2 jobs and do a very good job, because for me, I think the most of the jobs I've got have been referrals. I haven't gone to a company to say, can I do this for you? But they've come to me to say, we were told you did this, can you do this for us as well? So I think that's how you can manage it. But don't be selfish by trying to...
And I are you making money?
Oh yeah.
Making profits. The reason I'm asking is because we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the media, and everybody's just talking about surviving, and we're not making money. Whereas if you move into Kenya, the same entrepreneurs are making a lot of money. You move into South Africa, you move into Zimbabwe, even just those the few that are in Malawi are making money. Are you generating income?
Like I said, I think at one point I talked about being innovative. I think if you're in a group, in a cluster of so many people doing the same thing, how are you going to be set apart? How are you going to stand apart? So I think you have to be very innovative. And I like in my case, I think we get to do jobs even outside. We don't limit ourselves to just working here in Zambia. I'll go to places where I'm asked to go and offer a service, and I do that because I hear you. Like right now, it's very difficult to get jobs, to get contracts. At this point, everybody's saying no, government is not paying, and companies have actually got in-house, so many events managing their events. So this is where now you get innovative, and that is why we decided to start creating our own events. Okay, so we create a platform for companies to come together, and you make a bit of money out of that. But if you're going to wait for the same cake that everybody wants to bite from, I think that will not work. So I think as entrepreneurs in this era, you have to be very innovative in the way you come up with your products. Because I think that will be a problem, that will be a solution to that problem of having so many people wanting to do so few jobs.
Just wondering, not to sound negative, or not your journey, what do you think you wished you had learned earlier on or discovered that you know now?
I think if I tried to do what I'm doing now back then, I don't think I would have done it. Because I think I've come to believe that there's a right time for everything. And for me, the right time came later on, you know. I was almost 40 when I decided to do that. Some people wait until they're 50. When they retire, that's when they go and form their own company. If I started back then, because I think I had so many opportunities, I had money, but trust me, I didn't even think about building myself a little shack at the time, okay? And then I had one daughter, so I managed very well. I just didn't think about it. The time I was retrenched, I was actually pregnant with my second child. So I think that's when I sat up, you know, and I think the time was just right for me to get into the industry. And then at the same time, I think the beat that I took on the fashion industry was literally dead, you know. So I decided to take that beat and managed to see it grow. Very proud right now when I see where we're at. I've got one of my girls, Patricia, in the audience. So proud, you know, because I think I took on something that I didn't go to do what everybody else was doing. I wanted to do something different. So I think that's what helped. But had I done it 10 years ago, I would have failed miserably. Yeah.
Good evening.
Hi.
One thing I've noticed with entrepreneurs is, most of them are not people really passionate about
So you have to speak up.
A lot of people have been very passionate about school. I don't know if success at school has got something to do with it. And my question is, one of people, let's say they've got an idea, a very beautiful idea, and maybe it's a gift, that's it. You discover that if they get their gift and go to school to pursue their dream regarding the gift they had, you find that they miss it along the way. But you find that if they do the way they just have the gift of doing something, let's they're into fashion, they're able to put up a dress, and if they're very good at it, but when you go to school, you find that you miss it. A lot of the school confuses people in some way. They change the way you are supposed to think into thinking like an ordinary person. I don't know if you're what is advice regarding school and gifts?
I think those are two different things, hey? The one thing I advocate is learn, especially for girls. Because I think once you have that, nobody will take it away from you. Most of the girls, I'll digress a little bit, most of the women right now are in relationships where they're just in there for the financial stability of it, because they cannot sustain themselves outside of that relationship. So if I went to go to school, I always tell the girls, go to school, learn as much as you can. For those that have gifts, I was talking to somebody this morning and she had a similar, dilemma. And I don't see why you cannot do both, really. I know at some point one will probably suffer, but I think if you have a gift, you have that gift. I don't think anything can take it away. Maybe at some point you digress, you forget about it a bit, but it's something that the beauty with the gift is it's something that you always fall back on. Okay, if I'm a designer, I make clothes, and I'm in a formal job. When I'm on leave, I'll go back to my machine and still make money out of my gift. When I retire, I should still be able to go back and continue making money from that gift that I have. So people should still go to school. They should still go to school and do not lose yourself in the school.
I understand you said in order to be innovative, you came up with something like Zambia Women Award, and the first event was held this year. Okay, I just want to find out the criteria that you use to identify the women that you award, and is it something that you're going to be doing over the years?
What we did was, this is an idea that I've had, I think, for the last 6 years. And it's one of the many ideas that I have. But I think this one, I don't know what happened. I bumped into an amazing woman. And she says to me, she didn't know about it. She says, you know what, Karen? There's something that you have that I want to tap in. You see, you're so determined to get something when you want to get it, and I want to work with you on a project. So I'm like, oh, okay, you know what, I have this project and I've been sitting on it for a long time. She says, what is it? So I explained to her, and very excited, why are you sitting on this thing, man? Come on, let's do it. So, the only challenge we had was on the political scenario. I actually realized that yes, we have a lot of women talking out there, but we have very few politicians as well. So that was a big challenge. But otherwise, it wasn't easy, but it was okay. But for the future, they're going to be nominated by yourselves and voted for by yourselves. I think there are only going to be a couple of awards that we will give just on merit, like maybe the Lifetime Achievement Award. That will be based on somebody's track record and performance, but the rest are going to be voted on as from next year.
What I want to find out is, when did you know that this is my passion, this is my gift, this is what I want to pursue? I noticed when we were talking about gifts, you got so passionate. So I want to know how you honed into this gift and avoid a situation where you wake up today and say, I think I want to do this. And the next day you say, I'm good at this, I can do this, I can flow here. How did you hone into that analysis?
I think everything that I do runs in the genes. I think I'm my mother's daughter. Everything, if you meet my mom first, I'm a spitting image of my mother, and my mother still is a fashion designer. My mother sings. I used to sing, by the way. My mother sings. My mom was into drama. You know, she was an all-round artist, and I picked that up from an early age. And I think I knew because I made my graduation outfits for grade 12. You know, using my hand-sewn, and I used to help her a lot. Like during the holidays when I was away from school, we would sit, and I used to be her guinea pig. She would try something on me, and normally I would tell her if I don't like it, and stuff like that. So. But like he says, you sort of lose it. You grow out of something as you go along. But I think lucky for me, somebody else managed to identify that in me. And then I pushed it. But there are people that have actually lost it, Like I knew that I wanted to sing. I really wanted to sing, and I thought I was one of the best singers ever. But when I lost my hearing, if you knew me 20 years ago and you listen to me now, it's two different voices. Because now my sinuses are always blocked, I'm always, fighting off infections and things like that. So I can still sing, but yeah. So that's something that I really wanted to pursue, but I cannot do it. And then public speaking. I think I started giving speeches when I was in grade 2. In those days when you have independence celebrations, they'll take you to a big stadium and you give speeches and blah, blah, blah. So I used to do that a lot. I won so many awards talking. I was on stage most of the time acting. I don't know what I didn't do, really. But I think I grew out of it. It was more so because of society at the time. I think way back in the 80s, for you to come up and say, Mommy, I want to be a singer. First, what up the world be? And like, what? That's for prostitutes and that, things like that. So I think I grew out of that. But I still did it, when I get a chance. Even now, when I get a chance, I'll jump on stage and just sing with my friends, But now, I can see my daughter has taken after me. She's literally is me. And I've signed her up for piano lessons. Before, I don't think that could have been done. But I've said, let her go to school. But I can see there's something in her, and I would like to hone it while she's still young. If she wants to use it when she grows, that's up to her. But at least I'll have, harnessed it. Yeah. So I noticed that a long time ago.
Karen, my name is Chris. I'm seeing you for the first time. I say you're not only, from what I've heard, I think you are beautiful. Oh, wow. You're a beautiful woman. There's a buzz about the president's daughter, but I think I'm seeing better here. Anyway, my question is also in relation to your beauty. As a beautiful woman, I think you obviously go to men's offices, and men sometimes are chauvinists, that they see a beautiful woman in front of them and even the business that you're talking about, they stop listening to it. When you say no, they'll probably say no, let's meet later on at Intercontinental for dinner and talk about this. How do you, as a woman entrepreneur, somebody who is also in the limelight, in the public domain, how do you go to see so many people and differentiate and put that say, look, this is straight business that I'm talking about. This is not, I'm not being a woman and want an easy way out in terms of business. Give this business to me on merit, not because I'm a woman. And how do you separate that? How do you make yourself straight up?
I get very tempted. It's funny you brought that up. I've got my PA here, Natasha, and we go through that, I think, on a daily basis. You know, just I think a couple of hours ago we were talking about it, and she was saying, "Mommy, you know, you were talking about how men are the same and they always want one thing," and I was like, "Yes, my baby, you learn the hard way." But one thing I tell the girls everywhere I have gone is that your power does not lie below your waist. Your power is squarely set between your shoulders here. So if I walk into your office and the first thing you notice are my legs, and because I'm not going to wear something wrong because hello, you can't, you know, contain yourself. I'm comfortable like this. But you know what? If I see that, then I'll leave it. But what I have learned to do is, like I said, I have this project. I'll birth it. I'll probably not be the one to run with it. I'm going to bring in people. Sometimes I send her, I send whoever, I said, you know what, can you go and approach these people for this and that? I've given you a proposal, just work with it, run with it. Because I know that if I go, sometimes I'll get it, not because it was the best proposal, but just because this guy was busy eyeing me and thinking he's gonna get some later, you know, stuff like that. And I'll get the money, but it's not very fair on us women, really, that we should, you know, our moral compass should be compromised because of what we are or because of who we are. I've had people approach me and say, you know what, don't you have any projects coming up? So I'm like, yeah, why? I want to give you some money. But I haven't even, you know. So you get that a lot. But I think at the end of the day, it's up to you, really. Like I said, I don't think I'll be here right now if I had used my bottom power to get jobs or to get to where I am. The first 3 years of the Zambia Fashion Week, I literally financed it on my own. And the show came and went, nothing, no profit, but we still kept at it until people realized, you know what, there is life in this thing, let us support it. So now people are actually following you. They want to support you before you ask them. So I have the guidance how you carry yourself and how much you value yourself as a woman. I know a lot of my friends all have fallen because of that. And then you're the same guys, you come into Potiko, well, yeah. And you're the worst gossips. So one just has to be strong. And you never when you need the money, you just say no. You know. Yeah, but it's not easy.
Hi. For me, it's not a question. It's just something that I've heard you do. I'm meeting you for the first time. But I just want to say, keep it real. I listen to you every Sunday on Many Minutes. And I love you. Just keep it real.
My name is Matthew. I wanted to find out, sometimes you may be passionate about something, but then you think it's not profitable, or you don't have the capital for what you're passionate about. Would it be wrong to do something else just to make the money to start what you're passionate about?
I don't know, hey. I think it's the same thing as you going to a bank to go and borrow money. If you have another way of raising that capital, why not? If it's going to fund your passion in the long run,
I don't think there's a problem with that. Because I think, and that's why I think we're all getting it wrong, because you think, no, I will go to the bank and they'll give me money. But if there are other ways that you can actually raise that money, I think that is the best way to go, because again, you don't want to owe anybody money. You want, when the money is coming in, it's all yours. You know, instead of having to pay, and the interest rates are very high. So if you have an idea of funding your project or whether you go for it, go for it.
Just wondering, you're single at the moment. Do you think you would have achieved as much as you have if you were married?
Hell no. I really don't think that. I don't think so. Not that marriage is a bad thing. I've been married before, and it got me nowhere. Okay? Maybe had I started achieving when I was still married, I think I would have a different answer for you right now. When I was married, my husband had a very good job, and I was the dutiful wife. I had to, we're going to Cape Town to work on this project, so you have to come. You pack your bags, you go. You get a job, you start working for 1 month, and the next month you have to pack up. And my first job in South Africa, I was selling, I'm sure most of you have been to Santon, starter foods. The perfume counter, ladies should know that. That was my first job in SA. My husband was earning thousands of rands. I was getting 100 rands, maybe in 3-4 days, okay? And at the time, I was being a wife, you know? The wife that I was taught to be, support your husband, you know? And when things got so bad, and I think part of it I attribute to my illness, because I spent most of the time in hospital. You had to look after this sick person all the time. I was depressed, I was just, yeah. But funny enough that when I decided this marriage wasn't working for me, I was still in SA then, and I went to my boss, and I was working for a casino, and we had a community radio station based there. And the lady who was presenting the radio program goes in the studio and collapses. 5 minutes to go on the show. And my boss says, you know what, Karen, you've got a good voice. And you relate well with people. Just stand in for her today and, you know. So I was like, oh, okay, very nervous. Went in, I did the show. The owner of the station is the one that came up and said, you know what, take this slot permanently. And I started to think, oh gosh, David. I've got what it takes. And that is how I started. I never ever thought I would do radio, but I loved radio. You know, growing up, I was always listening to radio music. And so, as time went on, I was getting more shifts, getting more slots, and I was getting money out of it. You know what I mean? So when I came back here, a similar thing happened. I was presenting a program for the company I was working for, the bowling. And Mr. Hickey finished and says, you know what? I love your voice. I think you should be on radio. You know, I love the way you talk with people. You're just at ease, at home, no frills. And so I've been doing that 10 years plus now. So I don't think I would have achieved that whilst married. So, yeah.
So with your current situation, would you actually be open to it? Do you think it's something you can take on again?
She told me to keep it real, and I always keep it real. In as much as I am independent, I pay my bills. I make sure my kids go to the best schools that I can afford. I am lonely. Okay, I do get lonely. There are times when I just want somebody to hug me, somebody to say, you know, baby, it's gonna be okay, you know. But at the same time, in as much as I need a man, I don't need a man to define me. So if I get a man now, it's going to be a compliment. Yeah.
I actually got an SMS. Someone asking me to ask a question, and their question is related to tax for startup companies. Tax. What she asked me to ask you is, do you think government should, say, have to promote startup business, take away kind of like a tax exemption, maybe for 2 years, up until a startup company is established. I think the reason why they're asking is because most of these investors that come in get these tax exemptions for 5 years. So from your experience in your business, how has tax affected you? Do you think this is a direction we should be pushing through?
That I was actually going to start by answering. You already answered the question. If government can give an already established company exemption for 5 years, why can't they give a person starting from the ground exemption for 10 years even? Or until at least they get to a certain level. And I think this is where the stumbling blocks are, because I think there's so many intelligent young men and women out there that want to just go out and do it on their own, but they cannot because there's so many bottlenecks. You know, talk about bureaucracy, talk about the taxes. Every like 12th or 11th, mommy, we have to pay tax. I'm like, really? Do we have to pay? We didn't make anything this month, but you still have to pay the tax. But here is a big company that has come in, and it's rich wherever it's coming from. They've got so much money. Their turnover is like, you know, out of your reach, but they still get exempt. So why not exempt somebody that is starting out? I mean, I work with young fashion designers, and the biggest problem they have is startup. They want money to buy fabric, they want money to buy machinery, which we don't even have in this country. So that makes double expensive because then they have to import it. You know, so how are they going to grow the businesses? And then you're talking about growing this sector, SME sector, which I think to me is contributing largely to the growth of this economy, but they're not looking after it, they're not taking care of it. You know, if they can nurture that, I think then things are going to be okay. But right now, unfortunately, you have to pay the tax. But I wish I didn't have to pay tax. I really wish I didn't have to.
Well, I think we've come to the end of today's startup discussion. I just want to thank you, Karen, for coming on tonight and just sharing your experiences with us. I think she's an amazing woman. She's an amazing mother, a single woman who's a CEO and achieving and doing great things for this nation. And like you said, you're actually international, right?